All right, hey everybody, welcome. Today is Tuesday, May 5th. This is our How to Write Your Life Story class. We're going to be getting started in just a moment. I am in a different space today. I am in the library in a different city because my child had a program today. So today is going to be a little bit different. But I want you all to let me know that you can hear me, you can see me, and then we'll go from there. Hey, Miss Gail, welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, so we're going to be getting started in just a couple of minutes. Now, while you are preparing for the class, I want you to think of someone that you wish we had recorded their story. Someone's story you wish had been recorded, okay? I want you to keep that person in mind. Someone that you wish had been recorded. All right, and we're going to go from there. So, we're going to get started in a few minutes or so, so hang tight. And Miss Gail, where are you joining us from? Where are you? I am in Detroit, Michigan. So I'm in Michigan, uh, Midwest, Houston. On my list, it was a place I was thinking about moving to. I don't know. Let's see about that one day. All right, so I can see that the internet here is a little bit different. So hopefully everything works out well. Welcome those of you who are joining in. We're going to be getting started in just a few moments. I am in a different location today. I'm actually in one of my favorite spots, one of my favorite institutions, the public library. So I love the public library. I think it is just one of the centers of any society. If you have a public library, you're pretty good to go because you can learn so many different things. You know, there's just so much you can gain from having access to all of this knowledge. So, all right, let's see. I'm gonna close this part down and we will be getting started in just a few minutes. If you have somebody that you know should be with us, feel free to share that with them as well. All right, I'm going to close this, close this. I'm just closing extra things down on my computer because, as you know, sometimes technology can pull a lot of different resources and such. And I want to make sure that you guys have the best experience that you can since I'm in this different location today. Okay. Dun, dun, dun. All right, close that as well. All right, welcome everybody. We're going to be getting started in a few minutes. So thank you all for being with us. Um, I want you all right now to think of someone whose story you wish we had recorded. Someone whose story you wish we had recorded. That could be your grandmother, could be your aunt, could be your uncle, it could be someone else that you are thinking about, but who is someone's story that you wish had been recorded? All right, when you have that person, drop their name into the chat box. Let's see who you got. Drop their name into the chat box. We got a couple of more minutes to let folks come on in, and then we're going to be getting started. So I'm excited. Like I told you guys, I'm in a different location today. So typically, I'm not here at the library, which is why I'm kind of talking a little bit softer. I hope you can still hear me well. Um, I hope you can still hear me well. My daughter had a presentation today around the golden age. So they were so cute. Seventh grade, learning about the golden age. They had all these different inventions that they created and put around. It was really, really cool. So I'm coming from there in a different city, which is why I am here. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, thank you. All right, I'm super excited today too because this is the first time that I'm actually going to be telling you all about our new community. Some of you all who are new, let me put it this way so you ain't gonna see that. Wait. All right. Um, some of you all who are new to us have seen some of our other programs, like our academy and our ghostwriting program. Some of you all have seen that. You may have seen our publishing work as well. But now we're kicking off a community, and I get to share that with you all today. So I'm super excited. Grandma Eva, Grandma Sophie. Mm. So those are your maternal and paternal grandmothers, I'm suspecting. All right. All right, we got about a couple of more minutes and then we're going to go ahead and get started. So beautiful. For those of you who are joining us, let us know where you're joining us from. I am in Michigan, so I'm in Michigan. We got Miss Gail down in Houston, Texas, by way of New Orleans. I have never been to New Orleans yet, but everybody tells me that I would love it. So I have to check there. We got my team, Michelle, who is in the Philippines. So thank you, Michelle. Iowa. I haven't really had any. I don't think we've had too many people from Iowa. So welcome, Brandy, Miss Brandy. Welcome. Yes, like I said, Michelle. Michelle is over there in the nice tropical Philippines. Beautiful. Okay. Let's see. It's 12 o'clock on the dot. Should I? Hey everybody, hey everybody, hey everybody. So surprise, right? That was actually a recording from last week's session. I was having a couple of technical difficulties this morning and I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to come on live, so I started the recording from last week just in case. But surprise, I am here and today is May 12th, Tuesday, May 12th. So this is indeed live right now. Thank you all so much for joining us. We have been having some technical issues. So emails, SMS messages have not been going out as they should. So I am happy that you all were able to make it. All right, let's see who we got in the room. We're going to have an intimate crowd today. So Lynn, welcome, welcome. Amanda, welcome. Michelle, welcome. Happy to see you all here. Miss Lynn or Mr. Lynn and Amanda, is this your first time joining us? If yes, drop a first time into the chat so I know it's your first time joining us. If you've been here before, welcome back. Put return, right? If this is not your first time, if you're coming back and you are returning. My name is Zarina Elamine. I am the founder of the Legacy Story Keepers. We are a movement to capture the legacy and elders' stories in our lives. So this means ourselves as well as our parents, grandparents, any elders. We are working to preserve that knowledge while we still can. Okay, great. Welcome, Amanda. Welcome, Miss Lynn or Mr. Lynn. Let me know, please. All right. So before we jump into the lesson, today is an intimate group. So I really want this to be a conversation. You all get the opportunity to hear from me. I'm going to teach you, but I also want to know from you all some things, okay? So it's going to be an intimate conversation for those of you who are here with us today. Sister Arifa, is that my sister Arifa that is in the Legacy Story Keepers right now? If it is, welcome. Let me know. All right, so you all, we're here to talk about life stories, right? We're here to talk about how we can organize 50 years, 60 years, 70 years, 80 years, 90 years of life, put it into an actual volume, and then be able to share that with someone else. Okay. So if you are of that mindset, you're in the right place. I'm not going to teach about novel writing. I'm not going to teach anything about fiction either. So if you're looking to write from that perspective, this is not going to be the place for you. Everything we do here is around life stories, is around truth, is around real life experiences. Okay. So that is our focus here today. Miss Geraldine, welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. So, you all, I want to know from you who are here, are you looking to write your own life story? Or are you looking to write the life story of someone that you love? Whose life story are you looking to write? Is it your own or is it someone that you love? Miss Amanda, no, I do not see you on camera. However, if you want to speak, And we're intimate today, so we can actually do that. Miss Amanda, I can make you a co-host, and then at some point it will come up on your screen and it will allow you to share from there. So then I'll be able to have a conversation with you. Sister Arafa, I'm going to do the same for you as well. And then Miss Geraldine, I'm going to do the same for you too. So then that way, anybody that wants to share, hey, Miss Amanda, I can see you now. Welcome. How are you?
I'm very well. I'm taking a rare day off. So, oh, and there's my friend
That's
that
my
told me
friend
to
that
come
told
on
me to
here.
come on here.
Oh, good.
Oh, good.
Wait, I hear back.
I hear back.
I think, okay, Miss Geraldine, I muted you just temporarily, okay? Just temporarily because it was having that little, thing going on.
Oh,
So, Miss Amanda, welcome. Now,
thank you.
you've been thinking about writing your life story?
Me, I've been working on it for 20 years and I've got files and files and files on my computer.
Okay.
Um,
Mhm.
and I decided to be less ambitious and pare it down to just the main story. So it's not like an autobiography, it's just a memoir and it's basically centered on how I got into a cult and how I got out of it.
All right.
So
So you've decided to focus in on one particular aspect of your life, which is going to be getting into this cult and then freeing yourself from that situation, right? Um, what is your why? Why do you want to tell that story?
good question. One, for myself, because I think it would be healing and I'd learn a lot. Two, for my daughter, who's been asking me to write it for years, so she understands more about herself. And three, it might be useful for a wider audience, but I don't know.
All right. So this is very important when we're deciding how to take all of those different files that you have and all of the different notes and such that you have and trying to decide what's going to go in this particular volume and then what may be reserved for a future volume or what just doesn't make the cut, right? So if we're able to come back to what our why is, right? And this is for everyone. This is one of the foundational pieces of writing a life story or an autobiography or a memoir, right? And we'll come over what the difference is between a memoir and life story slash autobiography. But having the foundational understanding of what is our ultimate goal, right? Why are we doing this? This is one of the guideposts. This is one of the North Stars that helps us to decide what's going to go into this thing and what's not, right? What makes the cut. So now we know here, okay, we know the theme of what we want to focus on. We're focusing on the story of getting into the cult, getting out of the cult. We know that we want to give this to your family member, your daughter, right? So that she has a greater understanding of who she is as a young woman, as a woman. And what else? What else do you want her, like if someone is to read this story, what idea do you want them to walk away with? This can be your daughter first, and then let's expand it out
Well,
second.
that everybody's vulnerable, that or certain times of your life, people are vulnerable to giving up their will to other people and to believing things that may make life easier for them. And I have no regrets about any of it. But um joining doing something like that for me was sort of throwing away my heritage and taking on an alien story.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that last part when you say throwing away your heritage and taking on an alien
It's,
story?
are there a lot of people listening to this? I don't.
No, it's just us six right now. But
Oh,
to your point, to your
Yes. Yeah.
point, let me say this. You are absolutely right to stop at that point. And this is important for us who are writing life stories and such as well. We get to choose what we want to share with the world, right? We don't have to share any aspects of our life that we don't want to share. And when we are going through our material, if you will, all of the experiences that have happened in our lives, even to tell the point of what it is that we're looking to tell, we have to be truthful, we have to be authentic, but we don't have to also tell all, right? And so you don't have to share anything that you don't want to share in this space. You
R-
own your story, as you do. So,
Right. Well, it also could be offensive to people because it's a rejection of a certain narrative that I no longer believe in, and and so I also don't want to offend anybody or upset anybody, including my own family members that still believe in this way of thinking.
okay.
Um,
This is very good. Now, do I have permission to go a little bit deeper with you as if you were in one of our classes? Do I have your permission?
Sure, as long as nobody else listening feels shortchanged because you're focusing on one person. That was probably my main concern. Like I don't want to be egotistical or um, may,
That's
but
very thoughtful of you. That's very thoughtful of you. But you have our attention. You
okay.
and you are able
Oh,
to take the space at this time.
okay.
Right?
Okay.
And everyone who is listening, you will find value from this line of questioning. And I want you to put yourself into Miss Amanda's shoes right now. Miss Amanda is in the hot seat, if you will, but
Okay.
all of us, I want you to put yourselves into the shoes. So the same questions that I asked Miss Amanda, I want you to think about how that relates to your own story. All right. Miss Geraldine, I see you on the screen. So can you see that it can be useful for you, even if you're not in Miss Amanda's story? Okay.
Well,
Okay,
she kind of is in my story.
great. So, one of the things that we do when we're starting off writing a life story project is we clear our mind of any fear, we clear our mind of any shame, we clear our mind of anything that is holding us back from being able to speak our truth and to speak our truth with authenticity, right? Every life story is based in reality. And reality has things that were joyful, happy, also things that were sad and sometimes traumatic, right? So our lives have all of those things mixed within them. But when you decide that you want to write a life story, you also get to decide who is the audience for that life story. So if you're writing something that is specifically for your family, your bloodline, their eyes only, right? They are reading this and it's written for them, then you can write what you are saying and what you want to share for that particular audience. If you decide that my story is something that I want to use as a teaching tool and I want to share with others, that in this particular case, you may find yourself in a vulnerable position and that all of us may have uh, spaces that are a little bit more open than we realized or such, and we can fall into certain situations and such. If you decide that this is something that I want to share with a broader audience who may not be just my family, then you want to first sort of put on what I call like your author armor. What I mean by that is that you got to build up like a force field around you, because you may ruffle some feathers indeed. You may find some people who read the book that are offended by what you say. You may find some people who say, "Oh my God, this is a bunch of crap. I can't believe she even put this stuff down on paper," right? And then
Right.
you also are going to find the people that say, "Oh my God, her story saved me. Oh my God, I'm so
That's
thankful
interesting.
that she shared what she went through because my daughter or myself, I can see myself in her shoes. Oh my God, I can't believe
Mm,
that I've been thinking about this, or I went through a very similar experience. No one else has ever articulated it quite the same, but I also have been wrestling with these same things. You're going to have both of those people. So when you're starting to write a life story, if you decide that you're going to share it with people outside of your family and outside of your immediate people who are close to you, you got to be prepared for
mm,
them to not necessarily love it.
right. Good points. Good points. But okay, so I think when anybody shares a memoir and they don't change the names and the people are accurate, you got to think about, who's how they would feel and how are you represented. So I made a decision to keep out anything negative. So in a sense, I'm self-censoring and it would be a little bit fictional because I I really believe in not saying negative things about people, especially in print. Not saying anything that could cast aspersion. So,
Miss Amanda, you're trying to play it really safe.
right.
But life is not always where you can't protect everyone. If somebody did something bad, if someone did something that hurt you, if someone said something that caused a strong emotion in you, you get to own that emotion and share that this is my interpretation of what happened. A memoir is always your interpretation. Now, you can have a disclaimer, right? That, hey, this is my version of this. This is my recollection of this. This is my interpretation of what happened.
Mhm.
And I recognize that there are other people who may have their own interpretation or a different interpretation of what have. But what I'm sharing in this is my interpretation.
So, if you want me to elaborate a little bit, and also you asked me a question a while back that I don't recall what it is, but I didn't answer it. I
I
just
stopped you
I
from
answered it with how many people are listening and should I take it? What was that question?
I stopped you from answering about like how it stopped your heritage and how you abandoned your heritage and such. The reason I stopped you is because I don't want you to actually share anything that you don't want to share on this public space. So you don't have to go into that. But what the main thing that I want you to take away at this exact moment, Miss Amanda, is that you have permission to own your story.
Mhm. Um, so, um, there are some people involved in my story and our stories that aren't alive anymore.
Mhm.
And those people cannot dispute what you say. And so as there's a saying, don't speak ill of the dead. So that's one of my first rules is not to speak ill of the dead. And the second rule is I'm talking about religion
Mhm.
here and a religion that some people may adhere very close to. So I don't want to cast aspersion on it. It's personal. So um and it's got a mixed outcome because although I left the cult and the religion, I had 4 children and 20 grandchildren that are all in some way affected by it, which I wouldn't have had I not joined it. So there's no regrets there. Mm, Um, but I did radically change my mind and I have to about what I believed and I have to live with that.
Yes.
No.
So for the benefit of everyone, so Miss Amanda, first of all, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being honest. Thank you for being open to feedback from me, especially because I'm brand new to you. You don't know me from Adam. So I appreciate you being willing to sit into the hot seat, if you will.
It's I never got your name because Geraldine emailed me like after the seminar had begun and said, "Hey, there's a seminar going on that I think you should listen to." And
So
and I
I'm gonna
texted her, said, "Oh, okay, I'll tune in. I'm cleaning some old cameras. That'll be something good to
I'm
do
going
while
to
I'm."
formally introduce myself right after I finish this statement, and then I'm going to release you from the hot seat. So you're done with the hot seat. I'm not going to bother you anymore
Oh
about this.
no, it's not a bother. It's not a bother. It's delightful. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Um,
Use me as much as you want and ask me as many questions as I want.
Wonderful. I appreciate that. So I will formally introduce myself in just a moment, you all. But one of the bigger things that I want you all to take away from this conversation with Miss Amanda is that when you decide to write a life story, you are writing from the perspective of you have the PhD in your life. You are the expert in your experiences.
True.
You know what happened to you, and you have your own interpretations and emotions and feelings that came about from the experiences that you have in your life. It is to go without being said that other people will have their own interpretations of the events. Other people will have their own ideas of this is correct or this is not correct, or oh, I don't like this, I don't like that, or that's you're writing your perspective. And when you write your life story, it gives you the permission to tell it the way you want to tell it, right? If you try to constantly censor yourself with the hopes of not offending anybody else, you're not going to be able to write a good life story because it's not going to be based in full authenticity or truth. That is point blank, period. There are no good memoirs that don't offend somebody because in our life, we're never going to be able to get through. There are some people that still believe the world is flat, right? There are people that
Oh
believe the
yeah.
world is round. There are people that believe the world, is flat. We have people that believe totally different political views. We have people that say the best fruit is pineapple. No, the best fruit is papaya, right? We have people that have all sorts of opinions on all sorts of things. There are never going to be there's never going to be a consensus. So there is no way that we should even attempt to think that no one is going to be offended by what we say. You cannot worry about that when you are writing your life story, period. Now, do I want to just go out there and start hurting everybody? This person was a straight up jerk. This person did this. Like, do I want to just like throw things out just to hurt somebody? No. But you're telling you're walking through, you're at the mountaintop now. You're looking at all of the twists and turns of your life. We've all been to some type of like lighthouse or mountain where we're able to see the full city view, right? The panoramic view of the city down below. When you're down on the ground, I may only be able to see that building that's across from me right here. I can only see down the block. I can only see a small limited view. But when I get to a higher place and then I'm looking down, I'm able to see the twists and turns. I can see, oh, the neighborhood cuts off right there. There's a dead end, blah, blah, blah. When we're in our lives and we're writing from this perspective now of being able to look back at everything that we've experienced, all the ups and downs, all of the valleys, all the different characters who played a part in our lives, all of the big decisions that we've made and such, it gives us a different perspective, right? It gives us a different perspective. And that's the perspective that you're going to be writing from. And it's yours only. It's yours only. All right, so we're going to pause there. Miss Amanda, I'm going to mute you for a second. Miss Geraldine, I'm going to come back to you in just a minute. Let me formally introduce myself. All right. All right. So, Let me share my screen. Share my screen. This is important conversation work because most of us are good people, right? We don't want to hurt anybody. We don't want to make anybody feel bad. None of those things. That's never our intentions. But if you hold on to somebody, maybe you're going to cripple yourself and you can't even share where you have felt hurt or you felt pain or you felt this because you're trying to acquiesce to someone else. All right. So welcome again. I am Zarina El-Amin. I am a cultural anthropologist. I am a mother. I am a two-time TEDx speaker. I'm an author, publisher, and book coach. I'm based in Detroit, Michigan, and I am the founder of the Legacy Story Keepers. As I mentioned earlier, the Legacy Story Keepers is a movement centered around specifically capturing the knowledge, the wisdom, the lived experiences, the lessons learned of our elder population, I would say, right? Over the age of 60-ish or so. Now, the reason that I do this is very personable to me. I have been in publishing since 2009. So I've been helping people to organize their thoughts, get them down onto paper, and share their messages with the world since 2009. My method, the Book Power Method, has been used by countless authors to do that effectively. And I probably would have stayed in that side of publishing, just publishing, business books, those types of things, if it had not been for lifing. So this is my dear mother. This was she and I in Senegal, West Africa. We were on an excursion. I organized trips for women globally. So this trip was to Morocco. This trip was to Senegal. We have a group going to Morocco in October of this year. So I organized these trips annually. My mother was on this one. This was 2018. We were exploring, having fun, all of that. When we came back to the United States, my mother began to feel off and subsequently was diagnosed with a rare form of cancer called neuroendocrine cancer. And within the year, my mother was gone. Just like that. 2018, we were having the time of our lives. 2019, my mother was gone. 3 years after my mother, my father passed from Lewy body dementia. And also cancer, but Lewy body dementia, I think, is really what took him. It's a horrible form of dementia that your body shuts down and such. So when I now found myself in a place where my parents are gone much faster than what we had ever expected, and these questions started coming to me about my family history, about things that I experienced when I was a child that I can no longer remember, about just having my parents and their own lives and similarities and such. And I realized that, oh my God, I can't ask them any more questions, right? Like there are just random things. Like, Mom, I wanted to know about my mom had her first child when she was 16. Then she went on to get her PhD and everything. Like, what was that like? You know what I mean? Like, I never really had a lot of these intimate conversations. We just kind of took stuff for granted. And when I started looking around, I realized that I was not the only one that took these stories for granted. In our society, we have systems for passing down the wills. We talk about financial inheritance all the time. Get the trust, make sure the deeds are in the right name. All of those things are extremely important. But we don't talk about the cultural inheritance. How do we preserve and pass down our stories, our wisdom, our lived experiences, so that our bloodline, and by extension, the community, can learn from it and move to a greater level than where we are now, right? That's the purpose. That's what one of the main things of humankind is, that we are to learn from one another so that we can evolve in positive ways. And too much, I found, of our history, of our experiences, of our lessons learned ends up 6 feet in the ground. So I'm sure you may have someone in your family, right, that you wish had their story recorded before they left. I know I'm not alone with this. Most of us have somebody like, dang, I really wish I knew more about my grandmother. If my grandmother had had the time to write a life story or had put these things down, that would have been amazing, right? What about my great granddaddy, right? Like, who was he? How did he get through life? These are things that may seem to us as we're living that our lives are insignificant and they're not that important, or I'm not that important. I'm not special. I'm not Oprah. I'm not some, big person or whatever. But you don't have to be for your story to have value. All of us wish that we knew more about someone that we love, and they didn't have to be some celebrity, right? So when I started working on this and I realized that I was doing all these books, but I neglected to do the most important stories, which were the stories of my parents, I decided to found this movement here, the Legacy Story Keepers. And our goal is to help bring to life 100,000 stories by 2035. That is your story, my story, our stories. We want to get those stories so that they are not going to end up 6 feet in the ground. So today, we're a little bit different, right? I decided to not necessarily go through my formal training with you all, if you will, but to teach just through examples and through Q&A with you all. But my goal is for us to recognize that our stories have value and we cannot just sit on them, and we cannot just wish and hope and dream and pray that one day they actually get down and they're preserved. It takes action. It takes more than just desire. We have to actually decide that we're going to do it. And how I help people do it is what I call our life story keeping method. So I'm going to go through that a little bit right now because there are really 4 easy steps that we follow. And I followed this over and over and over and over and over again. These are the things that I've used with our $30,000 ghostwriting clients. These are the things that I've used with our academy members. These are the things that I use now in our story keepers circle, the people who are writing together as a group. It's all based on this method here. So I'm going to go through it fairly quickly so that you can see what it actually looks like. I like to keep things simple, so I named it after the acronym LIFE because we're writing life stories, right? So LIFE. The first thing and what we started doing with Miss Amanda, if anyone remembers when we started working with Miss Amanda, I asked her, why do you want to do this? Even outside of the thought of I want to share the story about being in the cult and escaping from the cult, also is why. And a big part of her why was to be able to preserve what happened with her for her daughter who is asking. And she also mentioned she has other children, right? So you can imagine like your great grandchildren wondering, like, how exactly did what was happening in our life? Like what? You know what I mean? And are we going to fill those gaps in for them, or are we going to leave them floundering and wondering what happened? Right? Side note. There is a study called Do You Know? And they Emory University did this study. And in the study, they asked children random questions about their grandparents. Like, do you know where your grandparents went to school? Do you know where your mother met your father? Like just random questions. What they found is that the children who knew the most about their families also scored the highest on resiliency scales. So these were kids that were able to bounce back, able to maneuver through life, able to get things done when life hit them. And it had a correlation between how much they knew about their families, even when some of the family history was difficult. This is the thing, because some people are like, I don't want to share any of the bad stuff. It matters. The truth matters more than what we can think, right? So sometimes we're trying to protect people and we're actually doing them a detriment. So L is for laying the foundation. All right. This is where we lay the foundation of our work. And when we're laying the foundation, we want to get into our why. Why are we writing? Who are we writing it for? What's the audience? Because if I'm writing for my family versus writing for some women who are down at the shelter, domestic violence, let's say I had a history of domestic violence and I'm writing about that. If I'm writing specifically for my family, versus writing for the women who have gone through domestic violence and are coming out of it, can I see that I may use some different language or I may have different examples and such, right? So you want to be clear on who you're writing for. What do you want to focus on? Is it your full life? Is it a spiritual journey? Is it a short story? Is it a specific area of your life? Like, what are you focusing on? And then what are some of the core memories of that? When we can come into our life story writing process with some of these foundational pieces in place, we then are able to move through the writing at a much quicker pace. And it also helps us to not write so many things that will never be used either. Because if I know that, hey, this is why I'm writing, this is what I'm focusing on, I can keep those goalposts in mind and I can keep those bumpers around me so that I don't veer off too far off the path. All right. So before you put pen to paper, before you sit down and open up a Google Doc, before you get your notebook out and you think that you're going to start writing your life story and you're just going to be able to go through it. No, we actually pull back and we lay the foundation first. This is the same thing that all of our clients have done. So Sister Anissa did 2 stories with us. One was about her work with premarital counseling. The second one was her life story, specifically focusing on how she came into her spiritual journey and then also her social work journey, right? So focus specifically on that. But once she decided she was focusing on those 2 things, then we knew she wasn't going to touch on every single thing that happened in her life, right? So too many people make the mistake of trying to cram every single thing that happened in their life into this volume instead of laying a solid foundation and being able to pull together what are the key points, all right? The key points. So that's L, laying the foundation. Now, for I, once we have that foundation, then we can start to do our interviews. If we're interviewing someone else, we can start to take inventory, we can start to investigate. So I may go find photos that start to help me pull my memories. I may go look at obituaries, yearbooks, and baby books that start to help me pull my memories. I found old letters from my grandmother to her mother, right? I found letters and things like that. So this is the place where we're able to start to pull things from our physical environment, but we also start to pull our memories together as well. Now, one key thing I want to say about pulling our memories, when you start to work with memory and when we all get into our lives that have many aspects, right? We talked about that mountaintop looking down. Some places were high and joyous, some places were low and had some sadness or such there. We're going to touch upon all of that. And when you do that, I want you to go in gently. So imagine that you were opening up a jewelry box, and in this jewelry box, you found all of this valuable jewelry, but it's all tangled up. It's all meshed together. If you go in and you just start yanking stuff, what's going to happen? It's going to probably break, or you may actually make the knots even tighter, and it's too hard to unravel them. But instead, if you breathe, if you accept the situation as it is, and you start to loosen one knot, then another, then suddenly the whole thing begins to open. And writing your life story is really the same. Some memories are going to come open freely. Others are going to be tucked away, layered, they may be sensitive, or they may be simply tangled with time. If you go into it harsh, why can't I remember this? Or why is it so hard for me to think about this? Or dang, I thought I got over this. Or like you come into it with that type of energy and mentality, things tighten up and it feels harder. But when you approach it gently with patience, with curiosity, and also with compassion, right? With the sense of empathy, one detail leads to another, one scene opens into a chapter, one truth reveals the next. And so it becomes something deeper than just writing, just a resume, just a CV. This is what happened. It becomes an untangling, it becomes an unburdening, it becomes an unfolding. And so you're honoring life, right? One gentle thread at a time. So I want you all to approach this with care. I want you to approach it with empathy. One of the beautiful side effects that we found with doing this work is that when you give yourself the space to do this deep self reflection, you began to understand more of what was happening in your life. You began to see how different characters played a role in this movie, this full feature film that's playing out, right? You began to see what led to the next thing, how this decision led to that. You couldn't see all of that when you were in it because you were too close, right? It was happening at that moment. But now revealed, you can see what was going on. And when you do that with this sense of compassion, you begin to heal aspects that we didn't even know needed some massaging. Okay. So, in this period of investigating, pulling memories and such, we identify what are the core memories, what are what we call in our world, in Legacy Storykeeper world, the pivotal moments. And those allow us to give spine or touch points that we can then build off of. Okay. All right. So we have this investigation. That's I. And then what's next? F. F is for finishing the draft. Now, we are not trying to fall into the mistake that a lot of people do when they write this 800-page autobiography. They try to cram too much in there because, like I said, it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming for you, the writer, and it's overwhelming for the reader because nobody want to read all that. Okay. So we have to understand that our legacy is not defined by volume. It's not about how much you write, but it's defined by the moments that matter the most. So when you're approaching this life story work, I want you to think about being focused and concise, being short and sweet, instead of giving us this overwhelming 800-page autobiography that you can't write, that you're stuck in writer's block and nobody is ever going to read. Okay. All right. So we are writing for love. We are not writing for length. We're writing for love. We are not writing for length. So within our method, how we identify what is going to go in and what is not going to make the cut for this particular project is that we go through a process that we call the pivotal moment process. And this pivotal moment method allows us to look at everything that we can see, everything that jumps out, and identify what were those key defining moments that really made the difference. And when we identify those, as I said, they become the spokes that we build everything else around. All right. So think about it for yourself right now. I'm sure all of you all have at least one memory that pops up right? Can you think of now? Can you think of it? Let me give you 10 seconds. Can you think of one memory that pops up for you when you go back into your life? One pivotal moment. Maybe it was um getting into this car with this strange person and that changed your life forever. Maybe it was when you decided that you were going to marry this person, or when you took this job, or you moved here, or when you were cooking in your kitchen with your grandmother and she gave you some message, or you just felt the warmth for her, whatever, right? Everybody has one memory that sort of stands out. If you have one memory, type one into the chat box. Let me know. You have, I'm sure most of you are going to say, Zarina, I got a million memories that come up for me, right? Not just one. I got a million things that come up, right? So, yes, yes. So when you have this collection of memories, then what we do is we go into finishing the draft one memory at a time. Now, our life story method is built around like a 90-day cycle, sort of a 12-week cycle. And we break down different aspects of the sequence of life. And we use this as the spine to wrap our individual stories around it. Because all of us have individual stories. I'm not writing about a cult, right? I don't know what yet Miss Geraldine is writing about yet. But everybody has their own individual stories, but it still is going to fit into this at some point. So we all have an early life that made us who we are. We all have some young adulthood, middle life, some challenges, some growth areas, some wisdom, reflections, and then some things we want to take forward. So what we do here in our method is that we identify our pivotal moments, and then we create a writing plan based off of that and based off of these touch points. Now, some of you all may say, I am a little bit afraid of the writing part itself. I don't see myself as a writer, right? And what I'm going to tell you is that even if you're someone who wants to burn the keyboard, can you speak? Have you ever talked to someone and shared a memory? Have you shared anything that happened to you yesterday and you talked to somebody about it? If you can talk, then you can write your life story. We're not writing a dissertation. We're writing a life story, which is based in truth, okay? And you have the PhD in your life, nobody else. You own your interpretations, which means that the best life story is going to be in the same tone as the one in which you speak on a day-to-day basis. We're not going to change our language and try to make it sound like academic speak or this or this or this or that. No. When someone reads it, it should sound the same way that you would describe it, as if you were talking to your girlfriend or to your, grandchild or someone, right? You write the same way that you speak. So the words are going to be the same words that you speak. Okay. So some of our clients were a little bit apprehensive about the writing process at first, because they started to think about those term papers that we had to write when we were in 12th grade or 11th grade, right? Or freshman year in college, had to write that 10-page term paper. No, free yourself from all of that and make sure that you write authentic and you write a key message from your own experience, okay? Now, after we have written out our drafts, memory by memory, what do we have to do? We have to go in and we have to edit and embellish the story. Now, the way I want to think about this is like this. Your first draft is going to be wrinkled. It's going to be crumpled. It's not going to lay flat. It's not going to be smooth, okay? And that is completely fine. Because you don't throw away a wrinkled shirt just because it's wrinkled, right? What are you going to do? You're going to set up the ironing board and you're going to iron it, or you're going to steam it, or you're going to take it to the cleaners or something, right? You're going to smooth it out. Same thing with your life stories. You're going to take your rough drafts and then you're going to smooth out the language. You're going to fill in the gaps. You're going to add the photos, add the quotes, add the little touches that make it feel like it's fully you. You're going to polish it until it begins to shine. Nobody's first draft is perfect. Not mine, not your favorite authors, not anyone's. Everybody edits. So I don't want you to panic when you look at your rough draft and you think, oh my God. That's just the beginning sloppy copy that's going to become something beautiful. All right. So when you're editing and embellishing, this is the place where we're smoothing it and we're making it clean. Okay. So that is, in a nutshell, our framework that we use on all of our projects. Whether, as I said, it's our 30,000 ghostwriting projects where I'm interviewing or our ghostwriters are interviewing someone, or it's someone who's coming into our Story Keepers circle and they're writing with us as a group. We go through these same 4 phases because this is the way we're actually able to take our book dream from just a desire and actually bring it to life. So these are some of our legacy story keepers who have done the same exact process that you all are embarking upon, and they've done it following our system with us, holding their hand along the way. All right. So we're at the top of the hour, 1:00. I want to share with you all about our Legacy Story Keeper Circle. And then I'm going to open with any questions that you all have. And Ms. Geraldine, I want you to raise your hand first with any questions that you have. Okay. So today I taught you our 4-step method. You also learned a little bit about what goes into life story massaging, right? We've seen that with Miss Amanda. And we've also seen a couple of the mistakes that people quickly make, trying to come at it very quickly, or also trying to write too much, also thinking about pacifying their audience instead of being real. Okay. So these are some of the things that we've learned today. Now, what we do in our Legacy Story Keeper circle is that we take our process of writing the life stories and we apply it together as a group so that people are able to work through the process step by step and you get support on writing your stories. So let me see who's here. I want to tell you about the Legacy Story Keepers, but let me see if you all have already heard somewhat about it. Is this your first time? I'm going to tell you all about the Legacy Story Keepers. And if you decide you want to have support, we're going to share with you what that exactly looks like. Let me know. Can I go into that now? Helpful to have this focus on the pivotal moment. Yeah. Miss Geraldine, I have major life moments. Yes. Yes. Amanda, I'm going to come back to that question about the being interviewed part. Okay. All right. So let me tell you guys about how our company works over here in one of our key programs. So one of our key programs is the Legacy Story Keepers Circle, okay? This is where we help people who want to write a life story, but they don't want to do it alone, over by themselves, and getting stuck in writer's block. They want a community around them, okay? Our Life Story Circle has 3 main components to it. The first is the Academy. This is where we have a Netflix, if you will, of life story writing. So we have lessons on everything from how to add dialogue to your life story, to how to find those pivotal moments, to how to edit, how to embellish, how to work through some of the mental aspects that come up for writing. All of these different aspects of writing that are necessary to get the actual draft done. We have bite-sized lessons on all of that. So you get access to the full Life Story Academy, which is an online academy. So you log in and you get all of those courses there, sort of like Netflix, if you will, but for life story writing. Okay. So this whole academy, though, is anchored by our signature life story writing framework. So that is, remember, you guys remember laying the foundation. Then we do the interviews and investigating. Then we do the finishing of the draft, and then we edit, right? So that's the anchor of the life story writing, and then we branch out from there. So you get lifetime access to the actual academy. Okay. Now, in addition to the academy, which you can go in at 2 in the morning or 2 in the afternoon, they are lessons. Most of them are taught by myself, but we also have other instructors that have covered some of the aspects that I'm not as privy on. And we then give you actual support. So you get the lessons, but you also get live coaching. Okay. You also get live coaching. So I have these live coaching sessions because if you get stuck, if you need help, if you feel like you're falling behind, if you're writing and writing and writing and you're not quite sure it's good or where you should put this or where you should put that, I want you to have a place that you can go and actually get assistance, live assistance with real humans. So this is where we have our Q&A live coaching. All right. This is where you get to come on a week-to-week basis. You get to ask questions. You get to work through any of your materials. You get to read out a selection. You read out a couple of pages. We can give you feedback. That is our live Q&A writing sessions. Okay. So with myself and my legacy writing coaches. So these are held on a weekly basis. Okay. In addition to those weekly basis sessions, you also are going to be able to get connected to the other people who are in our community. And this is really a gift. Sometimes it's overlooked because people don't really think in community is that important, but it is honestly one of the most important parts of the journey. So we kind of call each other cousins, right? We're all cousins here. This is our private community, and these people who are writing their life stories, doing their projects along with you, become your accountability circle. They become your reviewers. They sometimes become your confidants. They sometimes become the people that you're like, oh my God, you went through that too? Like I did too. Like, oh, what? Like your comrades, you know? So let's be honest. When you're doing something as personal and as emotional as writing a life story, you need people around you who get it. And studies show that people who are part of a committed group, especially one that's rooted in like shared purpose, right? Those people are significantly more likely to complete personal goals. And also they enjoy the process more. So would you want to be by yourself stuck, for 38 years trying to write this by yourself, or would you want to get into a group of people that are all along the same mindset, same journey, and actually bring that book dream to life? Okay. So when you follow the process, you actually have a finished life story manuscript that has been self-edited by you following our process. And this is what you can share with your community, with whoever your intended audience was. All right. So our program is geared towards getting you to the finish line of having your life story manuscript written. All right. And then you are officially a legacy story keeper. So to recap, the membership includes lifetime access to the course, or I should say not lifetime, it's monthly access to the course, the community, and then also live coaching. Now, for those of you who want to know what the investment is, we have now kicked off our new circle. This used to be a program that was a $2,500 program. And quite frankly, not everyone was able to make that investment at the onset. So what I decided to do is to break it down and to make it an easier entry point so that we can help more people get it done. Because I need people to get it done. I'm so sad every time somebody tells me like, oh, my grandfather passed, you kept talking about interviewing and writing the story, but I didn't do it, and now I'm like, no, at this point we just can't keep living in regret. We just can't keep saying, oh, that's a nice thing to do. We actually have to do it, right? So my job, I believe, and life changes for you. I think I think my parents passing gave me different glasses to look at through life, but this is where I'm led now. It's like my calling. I can't go back and dig up my parents and ask them any questions, but I can help somebody else who's still here, and I can help somebody else who still has somebody in their family. I can help them. So this is my attempt to do that, right? And it's been working so far. So I'm excited about that. Um, so our membership in the Legacy Story Keeper Circle is just $97 a month. So that means if you want to come in, you want to get everything, and you want to do it all in 1 month, you can. If you stay with us for 6 months to a year, you can. Most people stay, it takes them, most people, like I'm finding 6 to 8 months. Like if they go at a slow and steady wins the race. If they go like that, right? Our writing process can be done in 90 days if you are one who is like, I'm going to put aside the time and I just want to go hard in this project. All right. So how fast you go or how slow you go is really up to you. You fit it into your life the way that it fits into your life. Okay. So Michelle, can you drop the link for me, legacystorykeepers.com/circle, so that people can go and register there. Now, we currently have, I'm going to open up for Q&A in just a moment. And I have a coupon code that I need to find. We were running a Mother's Day special for people to start their first month and even with a discount. So I need to find my coupon code so I can give that to you all here, for you all who are here. I will find that in just a minute. But Michelle, is legacystorykeepers.com/circle. So a couple of people had some questions about what we do with AI. Now, our approach, I'm in anthropology, is very human centered. Like I told you, we have live coaching with humans, right? Because I like to be able to talk, and I think it's very important. However, I do come from a technology background. So I spent 5-6 years of my life coding. So I'm very in tune with AI and I like it, but I need to teach you all how to use it for life story writing. So when you join the Life Story Circle, the Legacy Storykeeper Circle, we also have a bonus training on AI. Okay, so if you want to learn how to edit using AI, you don't have to take a separate class. You can actually learn that within the circle. We have a special class just on AI. You also are going to have another bonus, which is all of our templates, our outlines, story prompts, like everything that I use with our $30,000 ghostwriting clients. I put some of those templates and such in the vault for those who are in the Storykeeper Circle. So you get access to that as well. All right. So if you're worried about writing, if you're worried about editing, don't be. You can utilize some of our things and you will be able to get it done. Okay. All right, so that is the membership in the circle, $97. I think the code is actually just Mother's Day. I feel like I'm trying to find where I put it, but I feel like that was the code. I told y'all I like to keep stuff super simple. So I think the code is actually Mother's Day. It's going to give you a discount off of your first month membership in the Legacy Storykeepers. So it's just $97 anyway, but Mother's Day I did a special, so you actually get a little bit off. All right, so I'm going to open up for Q&A if anyone has any questions surrounding the circle, how we do things. If anyone has any questions surrounding how this can apply to your life story project, I'm also going to give you the opportunity for that as well. So let's see. Any questions that you all have, you can either type into the chat box or you can let me know and I'll make you a co-host. So let's see, Lynn, I'm just gonna make you a co-host. You can accept it or not. And we will go from there. Sister Artifa, I'm gonna make you a co-host too. Miss Amanda, what you thinking? Can you see how you can work through it? Uh-oh, I muted you. Hold on 1 second. Okay, there you go.
I'm thinking, oops, no, we're getting a reverberation. Okay, we're getting an echo. I can't really talk.
Oh, it's not an echo on our side. It's an echo on your side.
Yeah, I must be logged on twice, maybe, because I I moved around a bit, and maybe it logged me back. Oh,
Okay, we can hear you clearly, but if you're getting an
okay, it's just
echo,
a 1 second delay. Okay, so what I'm thinking is you have a lot of excellent information, which I agree with. And I'm probably a little bit further along on this process. I'm probably on the LIF, the F part,
mm-hmm,
um, because, but what I really need is an editor, somebody that reads every chapter I've written and then comes up with the questions that come to them. And like an interview. And you've given me some good ideas how I could go about that.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You want an outside person to go through what you've already written? Is that what you're saying?
At some point, but I've spent a lot of time with folders on my laptop that I've written and rewritten, and I have to pick out the right folder. What
Mm-hmm,
what I'm doing is more like technologically intense. And then when I delete the duplicates, I have to edit what I've got left.
mm-hmm,
So it's kind of time intensive. And um, so I'm beyond the why I'm writing it, what I'm writing. I've got photographs, I've done genealogy,
mm-hmm,
I've edited some of what I've written to find my authentic voice because I'm very much into finding my writing voice.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
So that's a very good point. So some people come in and work with us when they are starting at the beginning. Some people have some things that they've already done and they may need to tweak and organize that so that they can still get to the finish line, right? So in your case, you have some materials that you've already started. You still need to get those materials organized in the proper way and then go to the next steps. So if you were coming into the circle, what I would advise you to do is to you look at the way that we have our outlines and such and see if there are any gaps with what you have already done, and then come to the coaching, share what you have, and people can go from there. So that way that would be in the circle. The other option for you would be that we have private editors and such as well. So if you're interested on that side, we could also help you over there, meaning that we would take what you have and just work with you one to one to get it done.
mhm.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna mute you 1 second. Sister Arfa, are you there?
Yes, I am
Okay,
here.
Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Walaikum assalam. I'm blessed. And
So
you?
yes, you came into the academy and you're like almost finishing up. Tell
Yes.
us where you are and what's been your experience so far.
My experience has been a real journey. And one of the things that I just wrote the other day is that I didn't expect the aspects of the journey that I have been discovering in terms of the emotional aspects of it. And I wrote the other day that many times I've had to pause for days or for weeks to get myself together. So that's one of the reasons why so many of the individuals that I was in the academy, I guess that was called the academy with before, have finished their books. But I'm on my own time frame. I'm saying to myself that I've got to finish this up in the next month.
Okay.
So that's kind of where I am. So I'm trying to figure out with the new format, where do I fit in?
Your grandfather then. So even though you're past technically you're past your time
Okay.
of that you were in, but I have grandfathered you in. So
Okay.
that means that I will let you know like how many additional months
Okay.
you can have, but
Okay.
I am committed to you finishing. And
Okay.
so yeah, so I'll let you know. But
Okay.
yeah, just come in, and if you decide that you want us to do the editing and stuff, we could talk about that separately. But
Yeah.
with the coaching times, the coaching sessions, yeah, just come on in and bring something that we can share. But I want to speak real quick to the emotional side because you're absolutely right. You know, shoot, it can get heavy at times, but I think the main thing is that you have been consistent and you are not abandoning
Right. Oh, yeah.
the project, right? Like
Right.
you're
Right.
consistent and you're working through it.
Yeah.
So, do you find that it's been healing for you, or has the triggering been too much where you like wish that you hadn't have done it at all?
No, I'm not going to say I wish I hadn't done it because, like, my why started because of a young nephew asking me about my story. He had been asking his mother, no, his grandmother, who's my sister, about me. And at one family affair, she said to him, "Just go and ask her." So he sat down and just started asking me questions about my background. And I just started going extemporaneously, sharing things with him. So he became my why in terms of doing it. So I'm not sad that I started it. I just didn't expect the therapy session it would take. Um, I thought some of the trauma that was in the past that I had buried forever. But like I wrote the other day, unresolved childhood trauma never
Mm,
has an expiration date. I just wrote that the
mm,
other day.
mhm,
So no, I'm glad. I'm glad I did it. I just didn't understand the process and the emotional impact it would have.
mhm,
Um, and I have been still somewhat selective in terms of some of what I'm saying.
mhm,
And some of what Amanda said earlier resonated with me in terms of, how much do you really put out there and how much do you really say? And is it really helpful and healing for somebody else, or is it just a cathartic moment for yourself?
mhm,
Um, and with my background, it's like we basically don't want to disparage anybody. And
mhm,
it's certainly if they have already passed on and if they have transitioned,
mhm.
it's just, it doesn't help. It
Yeah.
doesn't help. So I've just learned to use words like childhood trauma, unresolved childhood trauma, resurfaces as adult trauma, um,
Mhm,
and then just give labels to domestic abuse, financial abuse, things of that nature without saying who was the abuser or
mm,
what form it took. Um, and I think this still will help with that nephew that I have in the back of my mind
mhm,
as the person I'm talking to. But I find that there's a lot of so called life lessons
mhm,
that I want him to have
mhm,
because he's in a generation so different than my generation. So
mhm,
different, so different.
mhm,
And I've got some deep feelings about the disconnect in terms of that particular generation of the 30 some year olds, the
mhm,
20 some year olds that
mhm,
didn't get the life lessons, somehow missed the life lessons. And just the other day, I was expounding on my time in the Black Power, not what we call Black Power. They always think that I was a Black Panther. I always have to remind them I was never a Black Panther. So
mhm,
so I was writing about my time in the Black cultural movement and how it was a bridge from the civil rights movement that I had been into, the Black cultural movement, then the Nation of Islam, and then Universal Islam.
mhm,
That generation that he's in, they've got no concept of it. So I
mhm,
see myself needing to put in a lot of history
mhm,
as background information.
mhm.
And the last time I was on, something that I had written was sounding too much resume like.
Yeah.
So I'm finding that that's a challenge for me in terms of writing,
Mhm,
that I'm not writing in the academic language of resume,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm trying to capture feelings, emotions, and things of that nature. That's been a real challenge. That's been a real challenge
Mm-hmm.
for me. But I still need to do the historical piece of
Mm-hmm.
what it was about during my generation,
Mm-hmm.
because these young people aren't getting it. They're
Mm-hmm.
not getting it. Their muses
Mm-hmm.
are on a whole different plane.
Mm-hmm.
And what has and is influencing their life saddens me. It saddens me in terms of influences that they are building, that they have grown up on,
Yeah.
and are building on or are acting out on, instead of reaching back into the past. Like my generation, at some point in time, we looked at, oh my gosh, we were fed myths and misrepresentations and a whole bunch of mythology. Now, we reach back into the past and we picked up some of that history, and that history is moving us forward. They're not doing that.
Hmm.
They're not doing that. So my pivotal moments that I've been writing about this past week are going back again and almost sounding resume like, because I need very, very, very much for him and his brothers and cousins and that generation to understand some things about our past. So,
Mm-hmm. Oh, so two things, and
mhm,
we will discuss this further, in the coaching sessions or such.
okay.
But, that's a very powerful desire, right? A very powerful why, a very powerful motivator for
Yeah.
why you're doing this work. And so that's very beautiful, and that is gracious. When you're looking at this particular work, like you're writing this with him in mind, there are different ways that we can organize that historical data
Okay.
that you want to share,
Okay.
and be able to also have your unique interpretation of that data, right? So you want to think, when you're looking at this, like, what is my view of this? Because this is still your life story. What is my view of this? What did I get out of this? How did I interpret that point in history? If you can bring those things in, it attaches the historical moment also back to you. But
Okay.
if you there's another way, and we'll come into this deeper when we talk in one of the sessions.
Okay.
But another way also is that if I'm going through, I can have, historical moment, and then I can list that out in that area where I'm like talking about what was going on in that, and I can state it in a way that, hey, I want to give you background of what was going on during this time. Bam, 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 bam,
Mhm,
bam, right?
mhm, mhm,
And then I jump back into my story,
mhm.
right? So that's another way that it can be. Like, if you feel like this stuff needs to be in there, but if we're saying, okay, you put it in there, but nobody's going to really read it,
Yeah.
or such,
Yeah.
then that's a way that you can have it. And
Yeah.
also,
Yeah.
last thing on this, and I'm going to close this out because I see it's 126. But
Mhm.
last thing on this as well is that who is your audience, right? If you're saying, I want to create this story for people like this, and I want them to have this historical information, right?
Mhm.
Then okay, put this in there so that they know where it is, and it can also be almost like a reference space,
Mhm.
like a reference book for them. That
Ah,
okay,
yeah. Yeah.
this is Sister Artha's
Yeah.
explanation of
Yeah.
what this history
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
and also how she
Yeah.
lived her life with it.
Mhm.
And it's
Mhm.
all in here,
Yes. Yeah.
right? So
Mhm.
somebody may not necessarily read everything from the beginning to
Right.
end.
Right.
They may come in, and then they may not be interested in that point in
Right.
in the history at that
Mm.
time.
Right.
But then
Right.
later on, it's like,
Right.
oh, oh yeah,
Right.
she talked about that. Let me go
Right.
in there. You know
Right.
what I mean? So looking at it from that perspective,
Right.
as a part narrative and part
Yeah.
reference, could
Yeah.
also free you up some.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Because I even went on my shelf the other day and started pulling out some books that I wanted them to know about. I wanted him to know about.
So create a reading list,
Where in the narrative?
no, at the end. So
Oh.
you can have, like, in your appendix, a reading list of books that you recommend, and you can create that full list, and it's in the appendix.
Okay. So in the narrative, I said the voices of W.E.B. Du Bois, James Baldwin are talking to me. So I listed that in the narrative.
Yeah.
Because my whole thing was, if you're talking about this particular time and what shaped me, this is what shaped me. Because I know they're not reading either. They're not reading either.
So you can do that, but then also maybe have a list at the end too, just for both.
Okay.
Yeah, just for both.
Okay.
All right, so I'm gonna shut this down, you guys, because it's almost 1:30. But if
One last question, where do I come in on? Do I come into
Zoom.
this? No.
This here is just the Tuesdays, but you who are in the program come in on the Zoom.
When?
Monday, same time, Monday at 12 and Wednesday at 6.
Monday at 12 and Wednesday at 6, just like before. Okay.
Yep. Just like before.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. So thank you, Sister Arifa. All right, you all. So thank you all so much for joining us for this story keeping class on this Tuesday. I hope you all got something out of it, and I'll see you guys soon. Sister Arifa, I'll see you either Monday or Wednesday. You can come tomorrow. Fatima will be there tomorrow evening.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I'll finish that section and come in on Monday at 12.
Okay.
I'll be that whole section. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Peace, everybody.
Okay. Same to you.